Or should patients let nature take its course and wait for the moment to arrive? Euthanasia is defined as the act of intentionally ending a person's life to help relieve suffering or pain. Euthanasia, any treatment, encouragement, or assisted suicide, of disconnection, or of a terminal or ill patient is considered as euthanasia. Most of the countries around the world prohibit mercy killing, but as time goes by, more and more countries are allowing this act to be legal. There are various arguments in favor of the deliberate killing of a person for their own benefit, and also religious, ethical, and practical arguments against euthanasia. The question is, do you consider euthanasia ethical or unethical? The first topic we're going to talk about is about the conditions in which euthanasia may or may not be used while a patient is in need of it. When would it be appropriate to apply euthanasia?
Well, I don't think it will ever be appropriate. Euthanasia is a rejection of human life. It's not giving the value and importance of it. It's not like in self-defense that you have to kill someone to save a life. In euthanasia, you're taking someone's life. So I don't think it's appropriate. Plus, it's kind of selfish because you're killing the person to end the pain. But the normal end of life should be taking away the pain so the patient can die in a dignified way.
Now, first we have to understand what euthanasia means. I mean, it's an ancient Greek word for the good death. So you have to think about that when you have the hopeless, the patient, or when you have the person standing there right there. So you have to, I think euthanasia can be acceptable, but in a controlled way, in having some forms of taking, like in part, or thinking about using euthanasia with the patient. So we can use a form of life testament when the patient does not want to have does not want to go to a vegetative form, where he does not respond and he's just likely to die without any artificial help. When the illness is terminal, so it's proved, and there's recent cases of proof that it's terminal. When the pain is excruciating and you can't help with the pain, or economically to the family it's hurting them. So you can't maintain a hopeless patient in a hospital when the hospitals right now in the world cost at least 10,000 pesos a night. So if the patient asks for it, you have to respect his opinion and what he's feeling. You don't know what he's feeling. You don't know what if he can control it. I mean, every human being and every human body, it responds to pain differently. And also, if you have death, cerebral death, so you just have to disconnect them. You're maintaining them artificially by life. I mean, there's no scientific proof that they're gonna wake up. So that's my opinion on the conditions to euthanasia.
And what are the legal conditions for euthanasia to take place?
Well, legally around the world, a lot of countries recently have been using euthanasia or been approving euthanasia by the population that's been asking it. I mean, Mexico and the United States, they've been using passive euthanasia. Well, it's you stop giving treatment or you don't give treatment at all. You explain the situation to the person that's been affected by the illness or to the family members. But also we have some weird cases. In Australia, it was a so controversial topic that they had to put a national voting to legalize it, and it was legalized. And we had to go to Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg, the southern Eastern European countries, that they have active euthanasia when you give the patient like a muscle relaxer or a lethal injection to just cease to exist the life of the patient. I want to make like emphasis in two countries, Cambodia and Japan. Japan has 4 ways of giving the euthanasia to the patient. Is when the patient asks, when the illness is terminal, when you give in everything to the patient and you don't see anything getting better, and with cerebral death, when the family members ask. And with Cambodia, I think it has the best source of euthanasia or way to go with the process in the world. Cambodia, you put the papers in to apply for euthanasia, and a judge is controlling every step of the way while he is advised by a medical staff that just presents the medical history of the patient. So Cambodia is one of the top users of the euthanasia process.
But in 2001 in Netherlands, it was reported that 1,000 people were killed by euthanasia without their consent. And this is the problem, that legalizing euthanasia gives the doctor a lot of power. It also undermines motivation to provide good care for the ill people and the dying people. And as Dr. Lawrence Foy said, if a physician withholds maximum effort from patients he considers terminally ill, he will withhold effort from occasionally patients who could have been saved. It could be easier to just propose euthanasia than propose a treatment. And it also discourages the search for new cures for all these problems and illness.
Okay, the next topic we're going to talk about is about the different points of view doctors or society have about the topic of euthanasia. Question number 1. What are the doctors needed? I'm sorry.
Well, euthanasia has been talked about and it's been a controversial topic for thousands of years since we have like presence of talking about euthanasia since philosophers of the magnitude of Socrates and Plato that were in favor of the euthanasia, but they saw it in a way of pity suicide. So while history advances, we can see like also history about Cleopatra, that she has a medical staff that investigated forms of dying by just going to sleep. And then while we advance in history, we go to the medieval terms that where the church and ruled the thinking and the way of thinking of the population. So euthanasia was abolished by those 1,000 years. After the medieval times, we can see authors and philosophers of the size of Francis Bacon and then Hume and Marx that approve and have literature, or they wrote books about the euthanasia. When we advance into history to the 20th century, in both world wars, the economical stature of the world was low. So when the doctors receive their patients, they use the trash system, and they just like, if the patient is so hopelessly, they would just let it die. They would just leave him there and let him die, and then just take him out of the bed and leave him and bring another one. So economically, you can see that point of view. And recently, there's been a lot of talk about the euthanasia around the world, while some countries have been putting that law into use, and some countries have been talking about it.
Well, doctors, for students to become doctors, they have to swear on the Hippocratic Oath, which establishes that they're not allowed to take part in killing. It said, "I will never give a deadly drug to anybody if asked for it, or I will make suggestions to this effect." So doctors may have a problem with this because they swore on saving life and protecting life. So it's not okay to take away the life of a patient even if it is asked of them.
Well, and that's a myth. I mean, I'm a medical student, so that's a myth. You don't have to take that like that. You don't have to read it while you receive it. It's just in, like, some people think that you have to take it, but Hippocrates is the father of modern medicine, and he was against euthanasia.
But even if you swore not, the point of medicine is to save lives. So why would you take away someone's life if you're trying to save them?
Well, you have to have medical experience in the field of hospital to start thinking about the way of seeing. I mean, the great part of the doctors that get cancer decide not to give chemotherapy or radiation because they see what happens to the patient, so they just decide to die in 6 months instead of living 2 years in excruciating pain.
Okay, the last topic we're going to be discussing is about the different methods that can be applied while the patient is considered to help with the act of euthanasia.
Well, euthanasia has been divided by several authors in different ways. There's the direct form and the indirect form. The direct form has divided itself to passive and active. The direct form is terminated life, but the active form is terminated life while you're terminating it. You can give anesthetics, you can give muscle relaxants. So you just see how you apply the substance and you see the patient dying. And the passive form is just don't give any treatment and see how it goes. So that's the way that I think that it's better, and that's how all the countries around the world, or the vast majority, have been using it. And the indirect way is you do something, and that something is not directed to the killing of the patient, but if you do something that to a point, the patient will die.
But Sophie, do you think that it is right if a terminally ill patient's family member decides to end the treatment of the patient?
No, I don't think it's okay because there might be a life expectancy